Hey everybody, and welcome to Honeybee Entertainment. I'm your Coach B, and today we're going to be talking about Overwatch Classic. Overwatch Classic is the newest event in Overwatch 2. It went live this past Tuesday, November 12th, and it is like stepping into a time machine back to 2016. It sports the original hero roster, each with their original abilities, and the original maps and game modes. Now, it's limited back down to the original 21 heroes with no hero limit and no role queue. So for those who didn't play the original game, essentially that would be the no limits game mode that we have today. Now, if you haven't played this game mode or are coming back to Overwatch 2, I highly recommend that, or I should say, if you're coming back having never played, I recommend that you play the game mode and you just get to feel it for yourself. And that would take me into my next section. After my time playing, there are definitely some pros and cons to the game mode that I feel come up immediately. The biggest pros, in my opinion, are the nostalgia. For me, having played Overwatch, and also I think it would almost be somewhat of a gimmick for those who have never played Overwatch, getting to go back and feel what it was like at its beginning. And in its kind of unbalancedness, there's kind of this crazy amount of fun. There's an extra person running around, and of course, like I just said, it's 6v6. And for those who never played Overwatch 1, it is their first taste at 6v6. Now, unfortunately, there are some glaring cons to the game. The game feels very slow and clunky compared to the live version. Many of the heroes are rather unbalanced or one-dimensional. Their abilities feel either disjointed or, like I said, it really pushes them into a one-dimensional playstyle. Now, what this led to is a disjointed experience, as there was no incentive to play a, quote, good composition, as there was no hero limit or role queue. And it also, the unbalancedness, whether overpowered or underpowered, mixed with the lack of reason to play a, quote, good composition, often led to a roll or get rolled situation. Even people coming back having played Overwatch 1, well, you just want to have fun. You're going to play whatever's fun. 6 Torbjorns, super fun. 6 Reinhardt, super fun. Having an entire team of Widowmakers, a bunch of Symmetras, it's all crazy fun, but unfortunately, it's not necessarily balanced. And that would bring me to my first conclusion after doing a little pros and con list, is there's somewhat of a lack of cohesion. Many of the characters, as I have already said, have this, lack of mobility is a big thing across the playstyles, but the biggest thing is that the abilities kind of don't either work together, overpowered, underpowered, and it really led to having to focus on your playstyle specifically. So there's an extra person, which sort of helps because it relieves pressure off of everyone else in the game. However, it does add an extra point of vulnerability to exploit. And so when you don't have a great team comp, it really hurts. And with the lack of healers in the game at this point, it is very much a brawl. You either win or you die in glory, okay? And the biggest thing too, having talked to a lot of people and listened to other people in the community, is that I or them can't definitively point to the one issue or the issues, and I think that was really enlightening, because it really points out that this has been a slow, progressive change over time. The game has developed in so many different aspects, so many different quality of life things, and for that, I really would like to give the game developers some praise. The first additions being the addition of hero limit and role queue, putting the game into a state that we are very familiar with now. The most common comp game is competitive role queue, and that limits you down to 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 support, giving a balanced team comp every single time. Of course, over its lifespan, the developers also have released new heroes, new maps, different game modes, as well as reworking many of the existing heroes. They also, over the lifespan of the game, have slowly increased walking speed across all characters. The Season 9 changes of Overwatch 2 increased a projectile change in an entire projectile size increase change. HP pools went up recently, and we also this past year got the healing passive for all heroes, as well as every role getting a passive, with the DPS passive being, I would say, the most influential of all of them. The ability to add damage reduction, having a new identity to the role. Now, I think one of the biggest things that this pointed out was just that all of these tiny changes over time have become integral to the way that we play the game, right? At this point, going back and not having the 5-second healing passive, it hurts. Just running around with your pants down, hoping I can make it to a health pack, or, well, I hope that we have, a Zenyatta, Lucio, or Mercy on our team, and that they're close and are going to look at me, right? The fact that, I don't think that there's a huge issue with hitting shots, but the projectile size increase definitely added to the need to have to use cover and positioning and think a little bit more, because you're not always going to get so lucky when you run across an open space. And I love playing Pharah. I liked Pharah in Overwatch 1, but Pharah in Overwatch 2 feels so crisp, so clean. The movement in the air, the ability to strafe, and going back and playing Overwatch 1 Pharah, the rose-tinted glasses for me just weren't there. You feel so sluggish in the air, and it's so weird playing Pharah without the ability to dash in the air, right? So, all of these things have been progressive, yet each one has found its way to be an integral part of how we play the game now. And that really, I think, is a huge development plan that has been laid out for the game across all of the events recently that they have been running. For years now, we've been running different events, but the April Fool's one, the developer or the community crafted event, recently have gotten Junkenstein's Labs, and now we are going into Overwatch Classic. Many of these game modes have been reoccurring, and each time something new comes up. They try different things, and, well, this actually was discussed recently in a developer interview between Coach Spilo, as well as Aaron Keller, the game director, and Alec Dawson, the head game designer. They really dug deep into a lot of these topics, and I would recommend that you go and listen to them. However, I'm just going to pull out some things that I think are really important to discuss, as the next step in Overwatch's journey is truly going to be in your hands as the gamers. The very first thing that they talk about is that 6v6 is not the answer in every way. They are very open to introducing 6v6 back into Overwatch, though they are extremely aware that the addition of 6v6 is only going to create new and different problems. Much like the change from 6v6 to 5v5, there is pain points. There's a need for change over time, correct? Now, it's going to be the same thing. Going back to 6v6 is going to introduce the same issue that existed at the end of Overwatch 1, which is queue times. Queue times have always been a huge issue with Overwatch and 6v6, particularly in the tank role, because people just don't want to play tank. It's a hard role to play. You're always the punching bag, and you're reliant on a lot of different things to do your role properly. And so what that led to is a giant discrepancy in what roles people were queuing for, DPS of course being the highest role, and tank being the lowest. So in a 2-2-2 format, if you don't have an even distribution across all the ranks, somebody's going to have to wait a really long time, and those people are always going to get screwed over. But they also talked a lot about why they actually have run these different events. The very first reason is to collect data. They have said many times that they want to make the games that people want to play. And I think that really has been shown in a lot of the experimental things that they've done recently. They've been running these different wacky game modes that give people a chance to just play Overwatch in a different way. Obviously, they only get to stay around for a few weeks, but depending on the player engagement, they really are able to make different conclusions on what people liked, what they didn't, who they were playing, why they were playing them. Recently, they did a quick play hacks, where you could choose up to 2 of any role in a open queue environment. And what that meant was that they found that typically people were choosing to go for a 2-1-2. 2 tanks, 1 DPS, and 2 supports. And so when put in the hands of the players, they tended to want to lean towards double tank, double support. And that was very beneficial information for them. Because going now into the 6v6 playtests that we're going to get next season, they've already discussed 2 of their big ideas for the game mode. The first that they're going to roll out to begin the test is going to be the traditional 2-2-2 role queue that we are familiar with. However, the second one is going to be something new that they're calling Kingmaker. This is going to be a max 3, min 1, so you can have 3 of any role, but you have to have 1 of every role. This is going to be another game mode that they're trying out. It appears that it's going to be in a open queue setting to some extent. However, perhaps there will be role queue added to it in some way. That still is rather unclear. What is clear, however, is that they're trying a lot of different things, and they're trying to balance what people like to make the best possible game mode. They've already discussed that when we add 6v6, there are going to be queue time issues. Best case scenario, they say, is that either everybody plays 6v6, and they find that, okay, the entire player population wants this. Another best case scenario would be that they are able to bring back a lot of players and actually add a player base by launching 6v6. Worst case scenario, however, is that it's split and it's potentially split across roles as well, leading to higher queue times across all of their game modes. And that's the biggest thing that they've been trying to balance with talking about 6v6. Adding in another player already is going to add in balancing issues balancing queue times. However, it is also going to be something that if they're running 5v5 and 6v6 at the same time, it's going to be harder to find roles for everybody. So this is what they have been talking about internally. There's a lot about the queue times, a lot about the player distribution across roles, and the issue with them adding 6v6. They want the game to stay rather core, and they're not opposed to adding 6v6 to the game in a secondary feature depending on how the player population perceives it. So this brings me into my very last point. I think what Overwatch Classic has really done for us in this past week is give everyone a view at how broken the game was. It can still be fun. It can still be, an experience. However, I think that I can say, and I won't get a lot of flack for this, the game was broken, especially when compared to its current state. Of course, there are things that are still messed up, but currently the developers are being more consistent with patches, heroes being added, new maps, new game modes, all kinds of balancing, quality of life changes, and they've been doing it quickly. That's something that we didn't have across the lifespan of Overwatch 1, and furthermore, the developers have been listening to us. They know that we've been talking about 6v6 for a long time, and they know that there's a large part of the population that believes that the game is just going to magically become fixed if you add in another player. I think a big part of Overwatch Classic has been to give everyone a taste of 6v6, but also to show them that the game is not going to just change because you add another player. They've made so many changes over the course of the game that you can't point to any one thing and say, that's it. If we just revert back to this or add this or this. Every single change has added in a new knob to turn and something else to balance. So, if we, as a player base, truly think that 6v6 is the answer, now is about to be our time to speak our minds. Next season, Season 14, we're going to get to play 6v6 for the first time in its current live version of Overwatch. Now, if you want this, you need to play it, and you need to play it exclusively. You need to show the developers that you do not value 5v5 when compared to 6v6, because currently they want to make the game that people want to play, and they want to find the best version of it, whether that be the 2-2-2 that we've been familiar with, or the max 3 min 1 that they think can be the new kind of standardized way to find a balance between open queue and role queue, and to balance 6v6 in a way that they never did previously. So, now is our time. Let's still enjoy Overwatch Classic, but let's remember that this has been a big brain developer strategy. They have truly been behind the scenes, recording data, plugging away at trying to make the best possible version of Overwatch, whether that be changing the game to 6v6, continuing to develop new character interactions, tweaking characters, or if it is simply to let the game be as it is and continue on the current path that we're on. Hey guys, thank you for listening to my ramble. I hope that you have been enjoying yourself this past week. I know that I sort of struggled my first few games, getting back into it, feeling sluggish, but I have had a ton of enjoyable games. It's funky, but it's fun to go back to the way that things were. So go get out there these next 2 weeks, play the game mode, enjoy yourself, and I hope that you are also looking forward to our playtest for 6v6 next season. I'm your Coach B, this has been Honeybee Entertainment, and have a great night.